Hello, everyone. I'm Jeremy Walker, and welcome to Enlightened Conversations. So, a little bit about myself to begin with. This is my first episode for Enlightened Conversations. My work I do in Brisbane is with Inspire Hypnotherapy. So, I help people with addictions and weight loss, as well as with things like stress and anxiety, as well as relationship problems as well. So, I'd like to introduce you to my first guest today. Jared, would you like to give a short introduction of yourself?
Hello everyone, Jared Lestrange here. So I am a qualified personal trainer and nutrition coach. I live in Brisbane, and my passion now is for helping dads to become super dads, better dads, partners, providers, and men with rock hard superhero physiques to match. So Jeremy has been working with me as a friend and a business partner for many years now. And I'm really happy to be on Enlightened Conversations today with you.
Awesome. So we've known each other for about three and a half years, something like that. That'd be about right, wouldn't it?
It is.
Yeah. And then, Jared and I, we really started connecting probably around 18 months ago, and we started to work out how can we start to build a business together and help more people. And then, helping out dads became the area that we really wanted to, spend our energy and contribute to the world. So I wonder for yourself, I guess having gone through the process of leading a group of dads, what have been some of the things you've learned, and I guess some of the challenges that have come up for you going through that process of leading a group of men and dads?
Yeah, look, I guess when it comes to leading the group, what tends to happen for me, for starters, in having a big heart is just making sure that I'm not taking on their own stuff, that I am holding myself, as the leader, and making sure that the collaboration with all the other coaches, I don't try and be the counsellor. I make sure that I get Jeremy and our counsellor Adrian on board to help all of these dads. And I guess the biggest thing with the dads that's coming up is the overwhelm with everything that they've got on their plate, and the confidence issues and the stress and anxiety and depression, which is rife in our society and with a lot of these dads that they're coping with in silence. So we've seen a lot of that come up in the programs, and that's probably been the biggest transformation that these dads have had through the program, is just realizing that they're not alone in the struggle, that there is support for them, and that we've got such a great team that can assist them to overcome their challenges.
I can certainly relate to that, and there's so many different types of dads. There's the dad with one or two kids and a wife, the dad with 6. I think I even saw one with 11 kids. Maybe some of them was partly from a blended family. There's obviously people with stepkids and this sort of situation. Myself, I actually thought I had a son back in 2009. Turned out later on, I found out he wasn't mine. So there was that experience of being a dad for a year, but then sort of falling out of that role. And I guess there's also the single dads out there as well who are struggling and going through that process as well. So I guess everyone has that different experience of being a parent and being a dad, and it can be, a different type of challenge for everyone.
Yeah, and look, the way that you've stepped up and coming back into that child's life and I guess being that father figure, that's been really inspirational for me to see, and your commitment to spending time with him and being that great role model. That's been excellent to see, Jeremy.
Thanks, man. And it was actually like a part of my life mission for 3 years when they moved away. I just held that intention with love to be there for him no matter what. And turns out 3 years later, they've moved back to the area, and I'm able to basically restart that relationship with him, now 8 years old, totally afresh, and it's all going pretty well. He he's really cute, and he'll say to the neighbour, "Oh, Jeremy used to be my dad, and then he was my stepdad, now he's my godfather, and now he's my buddy." And it's just way too cute. So I think he definitely feels the love, and I guess knows that someone is there for him. Yeah.
Yeah.
And something I was. Oh, you go.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's been great to see you sharing some of the challenges that you've experienced hanging out with him as well, because for you being part of this program with dads, I think it's so important for for you to understand some of the struggles that we're facing, and to see how you manage it is good as well.
Mm-hmm. I know. And certainly this will relate to both men and women, that parents in conflict over the ability to have custody of their kids and visitation rights and even just parenting in general, I think it actually took a lot of the pressure off for myself to be able to have no control legally over anything that happened with him. I just had to keep holding the intention with love, and it allowed me, I guess, to let go of control, which I think was a really great thing. Just keep communicating from the heart and hold that intention until it pays off. I guess that may be something that a lot of people in society, or just that general consensus with dads, is that we're not like big-hearted, and that it is about the love. But I think for everyone deep down, it is all about that. What do you think about that side of things with dads and being those really loving guys?
Well, we have noticed that there are a lot of devoted fathers out there that are experiencing some real challenges with their ex-partners, and obviously the custody battle, or simply their partner talking down, about them to the kids, and how that can obviously affect the relationship between the father and the children when they're together because of the bad mouthing of the mother. So what I did do for the dads a little while back is I got two divorced women who I happened to train together, and we had a conversation, a live Facebook video for the dads in our group, and we discussed how they managed the conflict in their past relationship, and the insight that these ladies had, and the I guess the strength that they had to, even though perhaps the man was creating some of the conflict, they were managing to keep a peaceful relationship as much as possible by the way they acted, not reacted to the things that were going on. I think that was really inspiring for the dads to see that there are women out there that do want the best for them, even though they're not together anymore, for the betterment of the child. And obviously we encourage that vice versa for the dad to be the strong one that doesn't, get taken down to the level of conflict or into the conflict, and that affects the relationship with the children. So
interesting how both sides aren't the ones putting their hands up saying, yeah, I'm the one screwing things up, or I'm the one causing the conflict. Everyone's like, it's always the other person, isn't it? But I think in all cases, there probably is both sides going on, and there'd definitely be something that all sides can do. You probably saw what I actually wrote this morning around sticking to the facts when having an argument, not dropping down into any name-calling judgments, but really just sticking to the facts, arguing the facts, and I guess keeping that end goal in mind, and not it being worrying too much about the personal attack, but just keep focusing on the end goal, which is, I guess, to have those good relationships.
When we look at the work of Adrian Hanks within our Super Dad program, obviously it is about conscious relationships and communication, and having that time each week that you set aside to work through the issues that are coming up. So rather than something pissing you off and then suddenly getting into this argument, leaving that until that right time to discuss it in a peaceful space. And that's certainly made a difference for a lot of the dads, and including myself in my relationship, that we know that there's that opportunity for us when the kids are in bed, and when we have allocated that time where we're going to work on improving our relationship. That's been a really really good thing for for us to incorporate into the program is just before the communication breaks down and all of those problems arise, making sure that those habits are in place within the relationship to talk through things in a peaceful way.
Gosh, and that's definitely one of my favourite topics, definitely the conscious communication, but actually scheduling it. Like imagine if we went through and we said, no, I tried to get that done, but it never quite gets there. But if we schedule it for 9 to 9:30, it's something that's going to happen compared to something that might happen.
Yeah. And look, that word try, I think there's so many dads out there that try and get in shape. They try to eat healthy. They try to improve their communication skills, or they say they've tried in the past. But really, I guess that word try, you either do or you don't. It's like if you want to pick up that pen, you don't try and pick it up. You pick it up or you don't pick it up, and it's the same with a lot of these changes that we want to make. I was listening to Mel Robbins just this morning, and she has the 5-second rule where, if you give yourself that 5 seconds to make the decision and go forward with it, whichever way you choose to turn, then, you're stopping that procrastination. You're teaching your brain to overcome that apprehension to make that decision. And instead of pulling back, you lean forward into the things that you need to do. And so I was only just thinking this morning, that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I'm doing it. It comes with getting out of bed in the morning to get out and do that morning walk so that you feel energized and you wake up your metabolism and you feel mentally and physically and emotionally prepared for whatever, the day brings you. It stands for so many things in our life to just end that procrastination and just give ourselves that countdown and just do it, and that's one of the things that we really promote with the program is, it's that motivation is fleeting. It's only there for a short period of time and then it goes again. We can't rely on motivation. So when it comes to doing those things we know we need to do, we need to adopt that just effing do it attitude and just get in there and do it, So
I know there are some people listening right now saying, I'm picturing my runners by the side of the bed and I know I haven't been out jogging for a couple of months now. So I guess is there a point where someone just does think to themselves, this is it, I'm just going to go and start? I guess does it sometimes maybe feel like it's a big thing to do as opposed to just a little thing? Like just getting up, maybe not making it an all or nothing prospect where it can just be, I'm just going to go and do that walk or start that business or start that goal, make that first phone call. I guess how do people get to that starting point?
Yeah. I know that you're a big one for organisation and, scheduling in the things that you're going to do in each day, week, month, year, and really having that forward projection of what you want to happen. And I definitely think that's a really good way to start with exercise is that, so say, for example, you're at a party in a year's time and someone says, wow, you're looking amazing. How did you lose all of the weight? Why is your skin looking so radiant? What have you done in the last year to look so great? And, you say, well, actually, I decided I was going to walk every Monday, Wednesday and Friday. I was going to go to the gym and do some strength training to improve the shape of my body every Tuesday and Thursday. On weekends, I take the kids out and we go and climb a mountain or we do something active. The way to get to that is obviously to schedule that in just like you do an appointment with a doctor and you hold that appointment and
making it an appointment. Yeah,
make that appointment with yourself, for the betterment of yourself and how you'll look and feel about yourself. So definitely scheduling those things is a big step for starters, and it doesn't have to be every single day you're going to get up and do it, but certainly sleeping in the clothes that you're going to be getting up in, and not allowing those excuses that come up, such as, oh, but my bed is so warm or it's too cold, not allowing them to get the better of you and just getting up and getting out that door before you allow those excuses to get the best of you. Yeah.
I guess it's that funny thing where there might be the comfort of the bed and the discomfort of exercise, but then there's also the discomfort of not exercising. Like when we do it, we feel great, but when we don't do it, we do tend to feel sluggish. And I guess that, the discomfort of results or the discomfort of kind of staying the same. Yeah.
Well, we think about our friend Dean Matheson and his favourite book, The Slight Edge. If anyone hasn't listened to it on audio book or read it yet, it's a fantastic book. And the premise of it is that the smallest things that are the easiest not to do are the things that are going to make the greatest difference to you. So, you know.
And that book talks a lot about just a couple of small habits every day. So say if someone wanted to achieve a goal or start a business and they went really hard for 2-3 months and then stopped. They might have got a bit of results there, but if it's not a daily practice, and I think maybe making some of these little habits into rituals sounds like something that would be useful as well. Not just something that we do, but something that we make a part of our lives, like the good eating and the exercise and certainly other things as well, but making that a part of our lives more so than an end goal. Like I'm going to just do that just to get a goal, but actually make those healthy things a part of who we are.
Absolutely. So, Jeremy, I know that you have these 7 cornerstones of health that you are very good at talking about. Can you share with our listeners what your 7 cornerstones of health are?
Right, yeah. So I'll give a little bit of backstory to how that came about. Back in about 2008, sort of about when, about the same time my former son had been born. I'd had that experience of a slow decline in health, chronic fatigue and digestion problems, daily anxiety, sore joints and muscles, felt like a truck had run me over every morning when I'd woken up. And I was already reading a lot of personal development books and just reading more on health, healing and human behavior. So out of reading 1,100 books on all these different topics, certain things just kept popping up over and over again, like the way we use our breath. Oxygen is the number one nutrient that our cell uses, and the more breath we get, the more our cells tend to function better. And that ties in so well with exercise, because the more we exercise, the more we increase our breath capacity and we tend to feel better overall. Certainly around drinking plenty of water as well. That actually links back to the exercise as well. So the more water we drink, the more oxygen gets carried throughout our body. And I guess one of the other things with, say, water and like good food and around this breath as well is to not see them as something that's, I guess, so much of a chore, but something that's an actual, like a giving back to the body as well. Something where it's, I'm doing a tough job selling air here, selling air, water and food.
You're doing a great job.
But stuff that makes us feel good overall, but doesn't have those downsides. So these things do help certainly with sleep problems, energy problems, and even with helping to balance our emotions as well. But getting that not from the quick fix, but from those foundational things that really, really support us overall. So number 1 was breath. Number 2 was water. Number 3 is around that real food. One of the things I did in coming back from fatigue was in 2012, I gave up all sugar for a period of 2 weeks, including fruit just for that initial period. And my energy levels more than doubled after 5 days. Animals started coming up to me. Dogs would actually run from hundreds of meters away to come up because my energy was so much clearer as well. And I guess around some of those unhealthy habits, sometimes the thing we think we need, the sugar, the marijuana, the cigarettes, the drink, the thing we think we need could actually be the thing that is holding us back overall there as well. Number 4 is around having enough body movement and exercise. There's an 11-hour audio book called Spark, which goes into the science around just how good exercise is. I just love that there is a book that is 11 hours long talking about the benefits of exercise. Like there's literally hundreds of them, from certainly energy to sleep problems, and again, helping to balance those emotions. One thing I'll mention around stress and exercise is that anytime we get in the body and do something vigorous or spend some time getting back into nature, it gets us out of our thinking zone, gets us out of our emotions. It helps to ground us and helps us to become more present. So anyone, I guess, who has that mental overwhelm or has those difficult emotions at times, just to check in, when was the last time you were spending time in nature and spending time exercising? Is that something that I guess is sorely missed and may need to come back as well? Number 5 on the 7 cornerstones of health is time to just be still. I know for people who are really busy, that being still can actually be a challenge. Just to pause and stop and be okay doing nothing sometimes is a really valuable skill to have there as well. Number 6 on my list of 7 cornerstones of health is the way we use our self-talk. I might have sent it to you in the last couple of weeks or so, but certainly sent it out to a lot of the super dads, is those power questions. Yes. So when something goes wrong, how do we kind of turn that back around? And I mentioned just recently with the guys in the group, if we're stressed, does that mean we're focused on problems or are we focused on solutions? Sometimes our mind can get bogged down in what has gone wrong, but how do we actually get that mind back to focusing on solutions and what can work as well? So a couple of the power questions I think can be really valuable there would be things like asking, what is great about this problem? Things like, what am I grateful for right now about what did happen? And say if there was a relationship breakdown or a loss of job or some other stress, what opportunities do I have now to turn things back around? And just starting to use our own self-talk and questions to come back out there. And the last one on my 7 cornerstones of health is to have some kind of passion or purpose, something where we're really giving to ourselves and doing what's authentically true for us, or something where we're giving back to others and something that's giving back to the community and something that's not just about us as well. I think if we have all 7 of those working at the same time, things can definitely improve and things can just get better overall if we have those really key foundational things all in place at the same time.
And the other thing I really love and have learnt from you is that on the days when we're struggling the most, when we're the most stressed, when something comes up in our life to really challenge us, so many times we can sabotage ourselves with food or alcohol or cigarettes or drugs or, just not spending that time, in our breath and drinking enough water and eating the right food. So, I love that philosophy. On the days when you're struggling the most, that's when you need to look after yourself the most. And
on those bad days, should we look after ourselves more and not less? Like on a really stressful day, we probably need to pause and breathe, and we need hydration and better nutrients as opposed to a good day. Yeah, I like that as a way to turn stress around 180 degrees. On a good day, it's okay. We feel like we could look after ourselves a bit better. But on a bad day, we should really do it even more. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's fantastic. So, I guess...
Yeah, I know you... after you. So I know you are a passionate vegan, both yourself and you've actually won a bodybuilding championship as a vegan, and even your family, your wife and 3 girls all are as well. I guess... And there's no one out there, or very few people in the world, who would actually wish harm on animals as a preference. But there's this resistance to making that change and seeing that animals do have rights, even before the legislation appears, and making a change to becoming vegan or close to vegan. I guess what are some of the things that get in the way of people, like the blockages that get in the way of people starting to make that change?
Well, there's probably 3 that come to mind. Number 1 is taste. Number 2 is convenience, and number 3 is culture. We're brought up in a culture where it's very normal to chuck another snag on the barbie. To have a steak and go to barbecues, and that's what you see on the barbecue. It's not grilling vegetables or veggie patties. It's that big slab of meat. And so I guess there's this there's this feeling as well that that a lot of men hold on to, that it's manly to eat meat, and also that, you know, vegans are hippies, or that they're weak, you know. And I think the thing that I love the most about living this healthy lifestyle, and meat and dairy and eggs and all of those, you know, typical bodybuilder foods not being in my nutrition, is that I get to help to break down those barriers in people's minds to making the decision to move to a more plant-powered diet. So my story around that probably starts all the way back in 2004 when I went to Kenya on a self-funded missionary trip to try and save the world and be the second coming of Christ, and ended up living in this mud hut in the middle of nowhere. And I had pretty much been on a plant-based diet because that's what the majority of the population over there were eating, because they can't afford to eat a lot of meat. So, you know, they've got their lentils and their beans and their ugali, which is their corn maize, and all of their fruits and vegetables, and you know, corn on the side of the road that's roasted over an open fire. And I was eating all of those local foods. And then I was living in this mud hut, and it was my last day of staying there, and they wanted to celebrate by killing a chicken and cooking it up for me. And something just switched in my head, where I had spent the last 4 or 5 days there. I had had these chickens coming up and pecking at some of the food I was eating, and suddenly I thought, I don't really want this animal to die for me to eat. I'm quite happy eating all of these other foods I've been consuming during this time. And so that didn't immediately change for me, or you know, make me change to a vegan diet. But when I did come back into our society, I think I started to think a little bit differently about the $7.99 chicken breast that I was consuming. And then I was training a client at the gym who was vegan, and she started to ask me some questions, and then tag me in things on Facebook. And I watched a couple of educational films, Forks Over Knives, and what else was there? Earthlings. And I guess I started to connect with where my food was coming from, what was in it that I had no idea of, you know, the hormones and the steroids and the antibiotics in the $7.99 chicken breast. And so I started to, you know, get the organic chicken breast, and I think I was paying $18.99 per kilo, but I was breaking the bank trying to be an organic bodybuilder. And
I remember I worked at Coles about 16 years ago, and when they were on special, they were $7.99 then. Like, they used to be $15 a kilo 15 years ago. Yeah. How have they halved in price when they should have actually more than doubled in that time if you go by the numbers? Like, what are they doing to the chicken now as well?
Well, look, I think these days the hens are actually being brought through to slaughter in about 3 months. So, you know, it is what they're obviously feeding them, you know, and how they're kept, and obviously what's in their food that is allowing them to grow to that size very quickly. And, you know, I've seen the footage of these chickens that grow so fast that their little legs can't hold them up. So, look, it really is education, but then it's also about, for me, I talk about all of this education that I gave myself. Basically, it was like I had been thrown down the Alice in Wonderland rabbit hole. And, you know, I could have gone back to my normal way of eating, but I decided not to. I decided to see where that rabbit hole took me. And you know, at the end of that fall, it allowed me to see that there was this whole new world of nutrition out there that didn't include animal products, and that it was nowhere near as hard as I thought it would be. And, you know, I spoke to a number of bodybuilders who had made the transition and achieved these incredible results, including one who had won the natural Mr. Universe. And suddenly I went, okay, this isn't so hard. what am I going to eat? Let's commit to this. It was 6 months to my first bodybuilding competition, and I said, this is what I'm going to eat. And I stuck to it. And lo and behold, I actually was the biggest and best I had ever been on stage. I think within a few weeks of making the transition, I lifted weights that I never had before. My skin improved because I had cut out that dairy. My recovery improved. I just felt a lot lighter internally, because I guess what people don't think about is that, we look at the physiological makeup of a carnivore, for example, and their digestive tract is 1.5 to 3 times their body length, whereas ours is 9. So by the time that heavy meat meal has passed through our body, it's been in there for 24 to 48 hours. Whereas if you consume a plant meal, it's being passed through so much faster, And I went and my lovely mother gave me a colonic therapy as a present one day, and I actually went and got that, and the amount of stuff that was passing out just scared me. And I thought, what have I been doing all of these years to my digestive tract? And I just felt clean. I felt good. I felt like it was a reset of my body. And I felt like instead of going on this fancy detoxification diet, just by reducing those animal products, my body was already detoxifying itself. So
I like that you said, and I like that you said you were feeling clean, just that clean feeling.
Yeah, cleaner, lighter, just healthier in general. And it's been 4 years now, and in that time, you'll see me very soon on Australian Ninja Warrior. I trained myself up for that. It's a brand new show out of America that was shot down in Sydney, and I did really, really well in that. I've done obstacle courses and competed in competitions in that. I obviously achieved my best results ever as a bodybuilder. I'm such an active, fit dad. I live this lifestyle every day of, pushing my body to the extremes in whatever I do with my barefoot water skiing or whatever. And I don't see that this change to plant-based diet has affected me in any negative way whatsoever. So I guess it comes down for me to, if I can live happy and healthy on a plant-based diet without contributing to the unnecessary suffering of animals, why wouldn't I? So, there's a guy, James Aspey, who I've become very good friends with, and he actually took a vow of silence for a year and broke his silence on sunrise. I think this was 2014 now.
But was this the one where it was being silent because the animals aren't able to communicate what they would want and need?
Yeah.
Was that the theory behind that?
That's right. So, I've seen him speak a number of times, and he talks about, about karma as well. And I think that, for the people listening to this today, obviously we want to make sure that, we are not producing bad karma in this lifetime. And if we think about the amount of suffering that the animal has gone through to get to our plate, there's no way that we can consume those foods and not be affecting our karma. The way I look at it, it seems like
I can certainly see in an enlightened planet that there would certainly be substantially less meat eating worldwide. One of the things the questions I think you asked me amongst a few other after some research I'd done into a vegan diet and this sort of thing, which was, when did the animal give me permission to basically take its life to eat it? And I thought, well, just logically it made sense. It never gave me permission. If I say that animals have rights and I believe in animal rights, what right did I have to go ahead and do that?
Well,
that was kind of a powerful and definitely a confronting one as well. But when did that animal actually give me permission to do that?
I
never did.
believe that human beings are the caretakers of this planet. And yet we look at the amount of destruction that is being caused by animal agriculture. We're creating damage to this planet that, if we don't make a change very soon, is irreversible. You know, we've already created what could be seen as irreversible damage. You know, if we were to die off as humans on this planet, the planet would thrive again. So we've got to look at what choices we are making that you know, can contribute to the betterment of this planet and the ongoing good relationship, you know, of human beings towards this planet, and what we're teaching our children, because they're the ones that are going to, you know, either end this world or repair it, you know. So I look at what I'm teaching my children. You know, we have chickens in our backyard and they are our best friends. We wouldn't even consider eating them, and they wouldn't consider eating a piece of chicken that wasn't their friend, because they understand and they have that relationship with that animal. I think that it's just so easy to love a dog but eat a pig, you know, to have bacon for breakfast, you know, but we would never even imagine, you know, eating an animal that we have a relationship with. It's only that we don't have that connection with that animal, or we think that they're lesser than, you know. It's yeah, it makes sense to me to love all animals equally and to do the least harm I possibly can on this planet. You know, I think that if the viewers were to watch something like Cowspiracy, if they're not vegan already, they would understand the impact that that our choices are having on the planet, and certainly, you know, start their own transition to a plant-powered diet, you know, and choices in alignment with that. There's so many leather alternatives out there. There's so many organic, you know, cruelty-free products out there in terms of makeup and you know, shampoos and conditioners that aren't tested on animals. It's becoming easier and easier every day to go out to a restaurant and get the vegan option. You know, it's definitely not as hard as people make it out in their head. And yes, you do need to, you know, deal with some social anxiety, perhaps going to people's places and they're not vegan and they're like, what are we going to cook them? Or, you know, what am I going to eat in that situation? But
I had a fairly quick turnaround with my relatives. There was Christmas time. No, there was before Christmas. They'd found, oh, you're vegan. Well, what do you eat? And all this kind of stuff, and kind of turned their noses up a little bit to it. But a couple of months later, by the time Christmas had come around, she'd gone and baked me 3 different vegan dishes. Everyone's eating it. Everyone's enjoying it. And it was just that little mindset shift. Well, let's just give it a try. I like that idea too, that like, you don't, like, someone wouldn't have to marry living that lifestyle. You could just date it, try it out for a couple of weeks, couple of months, do all the research, test it out. And I like that idea too, that what is good for me and like good for us as a people is probably also what's good for the planet as well. You know, we all are one people and we all are one planet. So what is good for the whole is also good for the whole ecosystem and the whole planet, and probably even beyond as well. So I like that idea that, yeah, if we can look after ourselves, look after animals, that's also has to be what is good for the planet as well, because we all just are one big ecosystem.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely.
And I love that your mum got you that present, a colonic.
Oh,
so what a mum you've got.
Can you imagine how embarrassed I felt when I turned up to this place? I got put into this little sauna, and then this young 19-year-old knocks on the door and says, "We're ready for you." And I went, "What have I got myself into?"
That was a 2-way mirror, by the way, in there as well. They were all watching.
Yes.
Just something else that came to mind around around our conversation today, I guess, about the things that get us into like our highest states, you know, the things that get us into flow, the things we feel most connected to. I guess for myself, it is when I am at work and solving problems. So I guess, yeah, helping people, but also that solving a problem and where something was hard before to help to make it a lot easier. Certainly spending time in nature is also something for me. It just makes me come alive, and also, yeah, it tends to relax me and make me kind of feel like I am in flow as well. What are those some of those things for you that make you, I guess, come the most alive and feel most connected in life?
Yeah, look, I think the thing that comes to mind straight away for me is I love it when I take someone out of their comfort zone, help them to break down the boundaries to them performing something such as, say, coming out water skiing with me. And just that ultimate joy on their face when they've said they can't do something and then they prove themselves wrong. I love that feeling that it gives me inside to see them prove themselves wrong and overcome those limiting beliefs that they had just 5 or 10 minutes earlier. Or even, you know, when I put a set of dumbbells in someone's hand and they're like, these are too heavy for me, I can't do this. And then that satisfaction and sense of achievement when they pump them out and feel so much stronger and you know, better for it. Yeah.
Yes, I think that's something I've definitely learned from yourself as well, is that, yeah, that I'd been setting a lot of physical limitations on myself, whether that be with weights, whether that be with exercise, certainly with physical strength. And I'd say, you know, more than half the challenges we've gone and done together, I've conquered that and gone further than I thought I could before. And some of that probably did relate back to the physical fatigue I had for those number of years, and just coming back and feeling strong and knowing that I can climb that mountain as we do now. And obviously took me out surfing there a couple of weeks ago. Got nowhere near riding a wave properly, but it felt good to just be out there, do something I'd never done. And I think that's, yeah, one of the great strengths and I guess gifts you've given to me and certainly with your clients as well, to, yeah, break down those limitations and know that they can do so much more.
Not being afraid to push the boundaries and push yourself through that pain as well. I think a lot of what stops people from getting great results when it comes to their fitness is they experience that pain of being breathless, or they may be experiencing some pain in their knees or their lower back. And obviously there's a smart way to train so that you don't exacerbate any existing problem. But when it comes to knees, for example, and something like squats or lunges, which is a very functional exercise that people do in everyday life, a lot of people will steer away from doing those exercises because of that bit of pain that they feel in their knees or their lower back, for example. And yet by doing those exercises, what they're going to do is strengthen the muscles that support those joints or that area on their body. I know that Wendy, for example, a client of mine, when she first came to me, her lower back was in so much pain just doing the gardening for all of 10 minutes that she used to steer clear of doing so many different physical activities. And yet when she started training with me, I managed to get her through some of that pain in order to strengthen that area. And now it's phenomenal what that woman can achieve, you know? So is
it really a case of building up the muscles and the strength in that area? So if someone has got, or even if I've got, you know, some pains in the body, it's important for me to exercise with the muscles and areas close to that to actually build the strength up. Is that kind of the mechanics of how that works?
Well, look, if we're talking mechanics, there can be...
Hopefully without too much detail.
Yeah, I mean, there can be areas that are tight and areas that are weak. And obviously it's ensuring that you're stretching the areas that are tight and strengthening the areas that are weak. The main aim is, with a lower back issue these days, not to lie in bed, because it's only going to exacerbate the problem and make it feel worse. You know, I know that, you know, my recommendations for a sore lower back is you get up in the morning and you have a hot shower, you go for a walk, you get that movement into that area. That can immediately make it feel better for starters. And then something like a roller, which looks like that. And what you do is you lie on that and you actually able to give yourself a massage and release some of those muscles, that's something that you can buy for $35 from your local Amart or Heart Sport or, local sports store. And it's something you can use every day on top of your stretching and your walking and your hot shower to help that lower back, for example. It's certainly very, very important to make sure that you are strengthening the muscles that support that area. So, yeah, we've known, or sort of I've known for many years that, with sore knees or a lower back, it is definitely about strengthening and stretching those muscles and making sure that you're doing everything you can to make it as good as you can.
Yeah, I think when I was coming back from the fatigue myself and went to a personal development and empowerment program, and we were exercising every morning as a part of the program. Every push-up I would do, my elbows would just crack. And I thought, my arms aren't going to fall off, are they? It had been so long since they'd been worked out. But it was, through that pushing that we kind of, had to do it. It was a part of the program to get in there and do it. By the end, I'm doing 30, 40 and 50 push-ups over the course of the session. And whereas before it was 5 and I better stop because I thought it was actually going to damage that area. So I guess, seeking that professional help and, anytime there's those blocks there to really examine that, whether that is actually true. And I guess always to keep doing something, keep taking some positive action. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. So, what can you tell us about your business a little bit more, Jeremy?
Right. So I guess the first thing that comes straight to mind is, anytime we have something that is difficult or anytime something happens in our life that is hard, to very quickly look for the positive intention behind that. And I'll give a couple of examples. So if I did have a problem with, say, smoking marijuana, and I know that's something we've worked with a couple of guys in the program, and if we feel guilty about that, to actually not focus so much on it being bad and that we want to stop that habit or addiction, but start to actually look for what is the positive intention behind that. And I apply that for cigarettes, marijuana, alcohol, even things like anxiety and anger, and just look at what can that actually teach us. As an example, with the marijuana, are we looking to just have a release in life? Are we looking to just relax? Are we looking just to feel like we can function better? To actually look for the positive intention behind anything that happens that we might call negative, and then seeing how we can get that need met from another source.
Yeah.
And that also that any habit we do that is not healthy always causes the opposite. This is only something I came across around 18 months, 2 years ago. And I say if we have comfort food, it gives us a bit of comfort in the moment, in that moment, but later on it makes us feel uncomfortable in the body, either with reflux or uncomfortable with our weight. If I have sugar for pleasure or to give me an energy boost, it ends up draining my energy later and I feel like crap, like what used to happen when I had the fatigue. Smoking marijuana to feel high, the next day we feel low. Drinking alcohol to maybe try and solve a problem or get out of our head, and then we feel way worse the next day if we get a hangover. And the final one, and the one that I work with the most with people, is with quitting smoking. If you smoke cigarettes to relieve stress, that they actually are the cause of the stress in your life. The physical stress, the stress of having to line up to buy them, financial stress, your partner having a go at you and your kids having a go at you, that stress, having to mentally plan where you can smoke and when you can smoke, and it goes on and on. And just to note any unhealthy habit you have, just notice where it actually causes the opposite of what you're looking for. And that can kind of bring things a bit more into balance about why you were doing it, but also that it's actually not working as well. So with the work I do, really look to bring all of those pieces together, look at what's actually going on and what people are looking for, but then noticing how it's actually causing the opposite of that positive intention. So the other thing we look at with the work I do as well is to see that any negative thought or any negative emotion is providing us with some kind of message even pain or dysfunction in the body as well. You could say that no one deliberately decides to have anxiety, that it is something that comes from the deeper mind. And that would be true, wouldn't it? No one deliberately decides to have anger or decides to have anxiety. It's a bit of an unconscious response. So if we treat that like a message and just have a look at where in our life do we need to find a bit more balance, or where do we need to find a bit more self-love or love for others, that can really help to turn some of those things around.
Absolutely. So I think we need to wrap this up. It's been a great talk today, hasn't it?
Yeah, thanks for having this great chat with us. Looks like we're here getting into the last few minutes there. So I guess, did you have any final thoughts yourself? Perhaps you want to share how people can get involved with the Super Dads program, perhaps the website, and if you've got your Facebook group there.
Yeah, well, look, Super Dads Online on Facebook, we've actually got 1,550 dads in there now, and the amount of support and encouragement and inspiration within that group is fantastic. So I'd encourage any of our listeners who are dads to do a search for Super Dads Online on Facebook and add themselves to the closed group. And superdaduniversity.com is our brand new website where not only can you join for free and add yourself to some of the support groups which are in there for specific challenges that dads face, but you can also take a course from Jeremy or myself or Adrian as our parenting and relationship expert, or Wendy to assist with family budgets and finance. The courses are there to purchase free. But what you'll actually find at superdaduniversity.com is a qualification form as well. And our greatest transformations for dads occur when they commit to the Super Dad program. And there's a qualification form that they can fill out on that main page, superdaduniversity.com, which will ask them some questions, and then that will qualify them to be part of the program. So if you're a mum watching this and you'd like your partner to be part of it, have a look at it, and you can read about the coaches that are on the program and look at the courses, and encourage your partner to be part of it. If you're a dad listening to this today, then go to superdaduniversity.com and enroll yourself in the next Super Dad program or take a course.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Jared. I know they're going to get a lot of value in there. We offer heaps of free resources. That'll just be fantastic. So thanks everyone for listening today. Thanks, Jared. You've been listening to Enlightened Conversations. Bye for now.